At exactly 6:15 on that freezing Monday morning, when I looked up from my car and saw Vicky Sterling blocking the road with both arms stretched out like she was directing rush hour traffic in Times Square, I knew my little patch of peace at Willowbrook Estates had just come to a screeching, messy end. There she stood, clutching a violation notice so thick it could have doubled as a doorstop, eyes sparkling with that special kind of predatory joy you only see on folks who just struck gold or finally caught the neighbor whose grass was half an inch too tall. The kicker, I was too tired to care, still wearing the same wrinkled clothes from my mother's hospital room. But if you told me right then, standing in the pre-dawn chill, that 3 months later, I'd watch this same woman getting cuffed and hauled off while the cops struggled not to crack up, I would have laughed in your face. Stick around, because this is the kind of wild HOA story you think only happens on the internet, except it happened to me, and trust me, you're gonna want to see how it all shakes out. Here's the setup. I'd just survived the roughest 10 days of my life, camping out in a plastic chair at Grady Memorial while my mom battled back from a stroke. I didn't even get the chance to collapse in my own bed before getting ambushed by Vicky and her personal paparazzi. No joke, she actually brought a photographer. Not even a welcome back. Just a flash in my face and a stack of legalese so fresh it was still warm from her portable printer. According to Vicky, I was now in violation for something called unauthorized extended absence without notification, which I found out later was a rule she and her cronies made up while I was literally praying over my mom's hospital bed. Vicky, looking every bit the self-appointed queen of suburbia, made it official with that tone people use when they think they've got you cornered. Mr. Harrington, you violated Section 1244 of our community standards. Extended absence. No prior written notice penalties, enhanced monitoring. You get the idea. All while her photographer snapped away and she typed more printouts like she was running a mobile ticket booth for neighborhood misery. And here's the real punchline. I'm a governance consultant. I get paid to help nonprofits fix situations exactly like this. I probably know more about HOA bylaws than most board presidents. But that morning, strung out and just wanting to get home, I took the notice, told her I'd be sure to follow the rules next time, and figured that would be the end of it. Turns out what Vicky heard wasn't courtesy, it was weakness. And weakness to her was like catnip. Driving back to my house through those winding streets, I felt the shift. It wasn't about rules, it was about control. That whole scene, the camera, the laptop, the official documents, was a show for power. And Vicky's last words as I pulled away, "This is just the beginning." Mr. Harrington weren't just a threat. They were a declaration of war. She'd spent my hospital days stacking the deck, calling emergency board meetings, inventing new rules, laying traps for me like a villain in a cartoon. From then on, my mailbox turned into her personal delivery chute for violation after violation. Mailbox too dusty. Snap, you're fined. Garage door open, 31 minutes while I packed my mom's clothes for rehab. Strike 2. Lawnmower engine audibly prepping at 7:58 a.m. instead of 8 Huzro. Another citation. She had photos, timestamps, noise meters, stuff that would make a court reporter jealous. That's when Diane Peterson, one of those neighbors you notice but never really know, showed up at my door, casserole in hand, sympathy on her face. She whispered that Vicky had lost her mind after her real estate empire went bust. "She's testing you," Diane said, "seeing how much you'll take before you snap." It was good advice coming from someone who seemed to know every dirty secret on the block. I prepped for the next HOA meeting like it was the Super Bowl research proposals, everything. I wanted to change the rules, make them fairer for folks dealing with emergencies like mine. Instead, I walked into a kangaroo court. Vicky had lined up supporters, told her side of the story, and made me look like the villain. She read my list of crimes, 17 in 3 weeks, out loud. I tried to argue my case, point out her rule changes were illegal, that you can't punish people retroactively. But all they saw was the new guy trying to weasel out on a technicality. That night I called my mom. She could barely speak, but managed, "Pick your battles, son." But Vicky had already picked mine. A week later, she dropped her nuclear option, a $2,500 emergency assessment for drainage repairs suspiciously affecting just the houses on my street. It was legal, barely. I caved, hired a lawyer, threatened to sue, thinking I could force her hand. Instead, she spun it told everyone I was a professional HOA scammer who sued communities for fun and profit. Suddenly, neighbors stopped waving packages got left at the curb, and even the kid who mowed my lawn wouldn't meet my eye. All while the bills for my mom's care piled up and my legal fees mounted. One night, Diane showed up again. This time, her advice was clear. Maybe it's time to move on. Sell while you still can. She seemed almost too eager for me to leave, and when she started dropping hints about my finances and how great the market was, it set off alarms in my head. Then at midnight, I found an eviction notice taped to my door, official seals threats of removal for legal threats against the HOA. It was theater pure and simple, but it worked. I started thinking maybe they'd beaten me. But here's where the story turns. Instead of folding, I did what I do best, documented everything. Reviewed the HOA rules, combed through every letter, every procedure. The eviction notice, legally worthless. But the real twist came when I checked my security cameras. Diane, the neighbor who'd brought me casseroles, was snapping photos of my mail and documents, even recording our conversations. She was Vicky's informant. I set a trap, left fake papers out, and sure enough, Vicky called an emergency meeting to address security concerns. When I confronted Diane, she broke down. Turns out she was being blackmailed. Vicky held the keys to her daughter's school application. But Diane also spilled something bigger. Vicky was working with developers to force people out, buy their houses cheap, and flip the whole neighborhood for massive profit. 3 other families had already been run out this way, their homes sold to shell companies. That's when I knew this wasn't just about me. I teamed up with the other targets, Tom Bradley, a retired doctor with a nose for numbers, and the Morrison family who'd been on the chopping block 6 months earlier. We put together everything: financial records evidence of bogus landscaping bills paid to Vicky's ex, a pattern of rule enforcement that only hit problem residents, and most damning, the property deals. Vicky, meanwhile, was busy playing politics. She scheduled the final vote on my exile for a night when her supporters could pack the room. 12 yes votes, and I was out-banned from the clubhouse. My access card deactivated, told to use the back door like some kind of criminal. I almost called a realtor that night. But my mom again came through. Sometimes you have to lose a battle to win the war, son. It clicked stop defending myself and start investigating her. I called Detective Sarah Chen at the county. At first, she was skeptical, another HOA squabble, right? But when she saw the evidence, Diane's confession, Tom's records video of Vicky talking community improvement with her developer pals, her whole tone changed. Forensic accounting revealed Vicky had stolen over $120,000 for personal bills, tuition, even her credit cards. The community started talking. Mrs. Patterson admitted Vicky let her keep her garden gnomes in exchange for votes. Mr. Williams said he was threatened over his home business. People finally realized how much they'd been manipulated. Detective Chen warned me to be careful. Vicky might do something wild. Sure enough, Vicky tried one last stunt, blocking the gate with private security, yelling that I was trespassing and crucially ranting on camera about using HOA funds to protect property values from people like you. That's when Detective Chen stepped in badge out and read her the charges: embezzlement, fraud, abuse of fiduciary duty. The look on Vicky's face as she was cuffed right in front of the cameras she'd installed to control us, man, you can't script that kind of justice. After that, the dam broke. Vicky was out. Tom was named interim president, and the neighborhood finally started healing. Diane apologized publicly. Vicky, for her trouble, got 3 years in federal prison, 5 more on probation, and an order to pay back every cent. My mom moved into a great assisted living place, and Willowbrook actually became the friendly neighborhood I thought I was moving into all along. The real satisfaction: watching Vicky Sterling destroy herself while we built something better. My advice, if you're ever up against a tyrant, stay calm, document everything, and don't play by their rules. Eventually, they slip up. Justice, when it comes, tastes even better than revenge. So what do you think, is this justice or just another HOA horror story with a lucky ending? Let me know in the comments where you stand on neighborhood drama, and if you've got a story of your own, you know we want to hear it. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time, where common sense takes a vacation and karma runs the show.